for me, a good life is a life that is uh, uh, centered around a sense of belonging, connection, and purpose, right? Like that for me is a fulfilling good life, as I feel connected to my environment. I feel a sense of belonging with the people around me, and that the work that I do and the way I spend my time gives me a sense of purpose.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Reflections on Living Well podcast, where we explore perspectives on the good life in the 21st century. I am your host, Broderick Rodell. I hope you enjoy this conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Reflections on Living Well podcast. Today, our guest is Jason Medina. Jason is the son of David and Lita Medina, brother of Charles and Daniel, husband to Dr. Nazarene Medina, and father of Naomi and Camilla. For over 30 years, Jason has worked in health and human services. He has been a licensed mental health counselor, a consultant, and trainer for juvenile justice and child welfare workers, as well as facilitating community programs for at-risk youth, older adults, children, and adults with developmental disabilities. Jason specializes in evidence-based protocols for families, individuals, couples, and children. He focuses on pragmatic solutions using cognitive behavioral therapy techniques to help treat past trauma while addressing areas of dissonance by aligning thoughts, emotions, and actions. Jason also helps contextualize the influences of family, culture, and religion in identity, decision making, and relationship processes. Jason, how are you,
That's a
my brother?
that's a mouthful. That's strange to listen to.
I know, right? It's strange for me to read it. Every time I read these things, I'm like, okay, am I saying and pronouncing this right? I'm like, where is the intonation? What's the appropriate? How do I supposed to be saying this? Well, I'm excited to have you again, folks. I've been having conversations with people who are dear to me lately, friends of mine. Jason is definitely a dear friend of mine. We've known each other for years, and we won't go into all of the facets of our relationship in this conversation, but I'm really excited to be here with my brother. And we've had amazing conversations over the years. And I was like, man, we got to do this on the podcast. We haven't had one of our deep reflections in a while. So this is going to be fresh, not just for you all. It's going to be fresh for us too. Let's see what happens. Let's see if he's turned crazy on me.
Mm-hmm. I think that's where we started.
Oh man. So yeah, I hope that's it, folks. This conversation full of laughter, I hope. And Jason he's a special human being, as you will see. I know I just read the bio, brother, but do you mind just go ahead and just saying some things about yourself? Because you're right, the bio is it's interesting to hear it, but
it's interesting to hear just because I don't think of myself in those contexts, right? Like I mean, I do very much consider myself my parents live a few blocks away. My brother and his daughters live around the corner. Very family centered, and that's where my focus lies. I feel fortunate that my work life allows me to live my values, so to speak. So I get to be involved in relationship and focused on connections with people while I'm working, and then I do the same in the off time. And really, my life centers around family, relationship, and community.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. I'll just ask you now. I'm sure I want to say something about that, but I'll ask you now, and I'm imagine that it'll come up in this this answer, the answer you have for this. So, what does living well mean to you? What is a good life? What makes life worth living?
It, it doesn't matter how many times I consider this question because I thought about it since you sent me the primer for the podcast. But I think for me, there's balance, living a good life is living a life that's in balance, right? And this involves so many different aspects of who we are as people, and the way we seek our fulfillment. And so, for me, a good life is a life that is centered around a sense of belonging, connection, and purpose, right? Like that for me is a fulfilling good life, as I feel connected to my environment. I feel a sense of belonging with the people around me, and that the work that I do and the way I spend my time gives me a sense of purpose. And so, kind of stripped down, that's the most essential answer. And then in that is finding balance between the time I spend at work, the time I spend at play, the way I eat, the way I exercise, just what I do with myself. There's a mixture of different elements, and so I'm not too heavy on one thing or another, not spending too much time recreating and not spending too much time working, not spending too much time by myself or too much time with my family, really, or my friends, just seeking balance.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Beautiful, man. Let's unpack that. I love that, and I love how you started off that answering that question. And I think that's the purpose of this podcast is when we ask ourselves that question, there's always space to explore it. It's a
Mm-hmm.
never-ending exploration, and
Mm.
I love how you brought that to the audience attention. Again, when we pose this question to ourselves, there's no final, simple, easy answer. It's a question that invites us to explore and to contemplate, to think about our experience in the world and what does that really mean? What does that actually look like? And that
Yeah.
evolves, it changes, it moves, it shifts as time goes along. I love that. And balance is such a um, important piece of the puzzle. And I think as this conversation unfolds, I would love to hear more about what that actually looks like. You just laid out some of those,
Mm-hmm.
and I love those three pillars too of belonging, connectedness, and purpose. So let's unpack belonging
Mm-hmm.
first, or any one of them first, or whatever you feel moved
Mm-hmm.
to do. But how about belonging? Can you elaborate a little bit more? Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Fortunately, in my work, I get to spend a lot of time with people talking about um, the pain that they carry in the world,
Mm,
right? The source of that pain, how it manifests in the day to day. And I think a lot of it centers in feeling lonely or disconnected, right? Like that they're adrift somehow in the world, that no one understands the experience that they're having, and how they are impacted by the different influences in their lives. That loneliness is a vast source of dis-ease, right? And
mm-hmm,
it can metastasize into all kinds of different problems, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That sense of feeling disconnected from the people around you. And so, for me, finding ways in your life to seek belonging, whether it is I feel like I belong at work, or I feel like I have a community of people around me that give me that sense of belonging, then it helps mitigate some of the overwhelming loneliness that so many of us feel. Um,
mm-hmm.
and it feels essential. It feels crucial to living a good life. Is that at least in some parts of my life, in some parts of my world, I belong. And that's going to be different for all of us, right? Like for some of us, we might find belonging in our hobbies. The people we go down to the gaming shop. We play tabletop games with people who around us, or we go play kickball with the sports team, or we find our friends at the gym, right? And that's where we feel like we belong. And some of us may find belonging at work. We go to the law office, or we on the garbage truck, or wherever it is that we feel like, oh, this is my place. This is what gives me a sense of belonging, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of it has to do with the people we surround ourselves with. Um,
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. Right? Like oh, so many ideas popped in my mind as you're unpacking that.
yeah.
What I see is in what you're saying is belonging. It's not just feeling like I belong somewhere, but I guess feeling like I'm wanted. I guess that's one thing that comes up for me.
Mm.
Feeling like I'm wanted, that I'm relevant in
Mm-hmm.
somebody's experience. That's a feedback loop to me, and like, okay, then I can keep going. It makes life worth it if I feel like somebody values me as a person. And I love how you're saying how that can show up in various contexts. I love the extreme of like the person that's working on the not the extreme, but the broad difference
Mm-hmm.
in work. Someone that's a lawyer in a law office versus someone that's on the garbage truck, which is very important
Mm-hmm.
job, by the way, folks. And seeing that, yeah, you can feel that sense of belonging anywhere in any context, and people want to feel like they're valued, that they're perceived as um, I won't say special. That can be, but
Yes.
that they have some value, some
Yeah.
worth.
Yes.
It's yeah, that's a gift.
The, to your point, man, so I remember during the pandemic when for a few weeks trash stopped getting collected, like
Mm-hmm.
where there was a freak out. I think it is one of the most undervalued and important parts of our society
Mm-hmm.
are these men and women who are out early in the morning, hustling, throwing their bodies at this work, right? And a lot of them are alone in a truck all day.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I say thank you. It's never lost on me. Also, I have a secret fantasy sometimes. Like there's a couple jobs I think about that I would do if I didn't do what I do. That's one of them. I'm like, I think I'd like that. I put on my headphones, listen to a podcast, like cruise around. There's this brother when I was during the pandemic. I was out walking. I walk a lot. I was out walking, and I see this man get off the garbage truck, and he's dancing. He's picking up the cans. He's linking them on the garbage truck, dumping it out, and the whole time he's just absolutely grooving. And I was like, yes, that's it.
Yes.
That guy feels a sense of belonging. He knows why he is, where he is, and what he's doing. And he's loving it. And for me, on a good day, I feel that way. On a
Right.
good day, I come to work and I feel like, oh, I belong here. This is my place.
Right? I feel you. Like for me, one of the important parts of the good life is cleanliness. And you know me, man. And so I have that fantasy too, brother. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, man, I could put the headphones,
Yeah,
I could listen to
yeah,
podcasts,
yeah,
my reggae
yeah.
music,
Just go,
just
just
picking
go.
up the garbage, knowing that for me, I know I would feel a sense of belonging because I'm like, I know this is valuable
Right?
because no one was, well, I should say no one because I'm in a situation in our neighborhood where there are people who don't value cleanliness, but most people like that the garbage is removed away from their home and they don't
Yes,
have to smell that stench or they don't have to
yes,
have garbage all over everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like magic. I put stuff in a trash can and then it magically disappears the next
Right?
day. But it's not. It's someone who, and I hope that everyone's like this dude I saw on the truck that they see the value that they
Yeah.
bring to the community, right?
Mhm.
To all of us just by doing their job. And I hope it gives them a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so much more about. I'm gonna tie this to like those other two pieces that you brought
Hmm.
in. I think that even in this conversation, how connectedness is that right? Did I just
Yes.
yeah okay
Yeah.
connectedness and purpose. Can you say a little bit more about connectedness and then we can talk a little
Yeah.
bit about purpose?
Yeah. And I feel like the difference is subtle. For me, it's not just feeling like a part of the community, but feeling connected to the seasons, feeling connected to the food you eat, feeling connected to the type of exercise that you do, right? Like the wellness and living a good life is feeling connected and seeing the connection between all these different aspects of the way that you live, right? Like I tell people all the time, uh, to find a baseline for your mental wellness or your mental health, we need to be eating healthy, sleeping consistently, right? And exercising daily. Like this is the foundation. But within that is feeling connected to all those processes. Connect like a real sense of knowing why you're doing what you're doing, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
we can span out, right? So on an individual level, you feel connected to the choices that you make in your life. You're making choices that are steering you towards a sense of wellness. On a community level, the same resonates, that you feel connected to the community around you, your people, your family, your neighbors, right? That you feel the sense that there's a web that interconnects all of us. And even bigger than that is society as a whole, the environment that you live in, like, and it resonates outwards. I think so many of us are feeling disconnected, right? And then we find connection in places that are a bit misguided at times, right? Whether it's delving into the doom scroll of social media, or we're just getting high all the time, or drinking a bunch, and that gives, or throwing ourselves into fandom, and whether it's being a fan of like some sports teams, or they do give us a sense of connection, but that connection is fleeting, and it
Mm-hmm.
is only in the moment that you're there that you feel it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so when I talk about connection, I'm talking about, yeah, you can find fulfillment in those little brief dopamine hits of social media, and your sports team doing well. But there also has to be more to it, that you're connected to your mind. You're connected to your mind is connected to your body, which is connected to your spirit, which is then connected to the people around you, to your community, and to the environment as a whole. Yo, that was a lot, bro. That was.
I love it, dude. You speaking my language, brother. Trust me. That's what you just outlined.
Mm,
And it's, me, and I think
mm,
the audience at this point have a sense of what it is that I'm trying to do in the world and what I'm trying to do with this podcast.
mm,
And that's exactly it, man.
mm,
The idea is, when we ask ourselves this question, what is a good life? I hope that we do
mm,
what you just did, just
mm,
outlined. And I
mm,
using the metaphor, using the I think all language is a metaphor to an extent,
mm,
and of connection.
mm.
How not just connected with other people, which is good. That's a good place to start for most
Yeah.
conversations. Like, okay, man, what are my connections to other people? But I love how you really brought it all the way
Mm,
deeper, unraveling that onion,
mm,
going into deeper and
mm,
deeper levels. Like, no, it's connected to everything,
mm,
connected to my own way of thinking, my
mm,
own way of seeing things. How do I get there? Well, it requires a certain level of curiosity, looking within, looking at my experience, looking at myself. Now, you can get that through a therapeutic relationship, because if a good therapist will hopefully, shine the mirror in front of you and ask you good questions to help you reflect on your own experience, and asking yourself questions like, what makes my life worth it?
mhm,
What? And then it forces you to, like, look, what is this? What are my choices? Who am I? Why am I
mm,
doing these things? And
mm,
and do I have a relationship with these things? What type of relationship do I have with my diet, with my
mm,
exercise program? Why am I
mm,
doing this stuff? Because if there's no connection to it, if there's no resonance,
mhm,
there's no love. I
mhm,
think it's a profound connection. I can use the word love to describe that level of resonance and profound connection. If there's no love or no connection with what I'm doing, am I going to maintain a diet? No.
mm.
Or when I say diet, not like a diet, but just
No.
lifestyle, food you eat in general. Um, if not, if there's nothing there, and there's no connection, I eat to support not just my sustenance, but my well-being. If there's nothing there, then you're not going to eat well.
Yeah.
If there's no connection with your exercise, oh, I'm just doing this because the doctor suggested or my therapist suggested I should do some exercise, and you're just doing it for that reason, you're not going to keep doing it. It's just not going to
Mm,
happen because
mm,
there's no connection there.
mm,
Or like, oh, you should have a better relationship with your spouse, and you just do it because the therapist suggested you should do it, and then you're like, that's not going to last but two
mm,
seconds.
mm,
You're like,
mm.
yeah, but you
No.
have to have something, and that requires a certain level of a self-awareness
Yeah.
that you're inviting folks by, I think, what I gather from what you just said, you're inviting us to be reflective, to reflect on our experience, to look deeply at our moment to moment experience. Am I connected to what it is that I'm doing? Am I
Yeah.
connected to my environment? I
Yeah.
have any sensitivity whatsoever to what is happening all around me. And that's why a lot of us, we can do things in the world and not concern ourselves with how the impact that it has on others, the impact that it has on the greater environment in general, because we're disconnected.
Yes.
Complete opposite of what it is that you're saying.
Yes.
I love it,
We
man.
we we live in a state. Many of us, from a therapeutic lens, many of us live in a dissonant state, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we are, our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions are not aligned with one another. And so, and I can give you a bunch of different examples. But to your point, it's so important to me that I know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
Why?
Like why do I eat the way I eat? Why do I do this specific type of exercise on this specific day? Like why do I don't know, wear a long sleeve shirt when it's warm out and or a short sleeve shirt when it's cold out? People do all kinds of crazy things and they don't just stop for a minute, like you said, and reflect and be curious about themselves, about the people around them, about their environment. Why am I? Why am I? Then they come in to my office and they sit with me and they're like, I don't understand why I'm. Client last week, new client reached out and was just like, I just want to understand why I am the way I am. And I was like, really? Like, really? I don't know if anyone's ever called me and said that. And I was like, that's what we're here for. That's what
Right?
this is for, is why am I the way I am? And I get the benefit, and maybe it's a little bit, no, it is a little self-serving, is I get to explore this all day, every day. That's my job. And as my clients are working through their stuff, I'm working through my own stuff. I tell
Mm-hmm.
my partner all the time, I'm in therapy 40 hours a week, just
I
like,
love it. I
like
love it.
just to understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And that
Mm-hmm.
gives me a sense of connection, not just to myself, but to my community, to my environment, and hopefully to the world at large. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
That's beautiful. And so I want to make sure because I hear all kinds of things. I'm sure you hear it too as about therapists, and some people, oh, therapy is not such and such. It's not that good. It's not worth it. And you have all these pundits out here saying that, not that it's not worth it, but it doesn't have any value. And I'm like, you're
hmm,
not understanding what it's about. You just articulated. So
hmm,
audience, don't be afraid of therapy. I mean,
hmm,
not all, they're not necessarily. Just like in any profession, there are people out there that are not that great
right,
at doing it.
right,
But what Jason just outlined is the whole point. And this
yeah,
person came in and asked that
yeah,
question. That's the whole
yeah,
point. That's the
yeah,
point of me hosting this podcast. That's the point
yeah,
of me teaching or contemplative practice and
yeah,
meditation and all of these different things to get us to reflect on our experience
yeah,
and ask the question, what am I doing it? What am I doing?
yeah,
Why am I doing it? How
yeah,
am I doing it? These
yeah,
questions that invite us to be curious about our experience in the world.
yeah,
And therapy can do that for you and can support that. Contemplative practice
yeah,
can do that and support
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And there's other things as well, but like that's the whole idea. And
yeah,
asking yourselves question. The ancient, I should, yeah, I guess you can say ancient, two couple of 100,000 years ago. Question of what makes life worth living? What is a good life? That Greek philosophical
yeah,
question. That's the whole
yeah,
foundation of Western philosophy, even though it's
yeah,
gotten to analytic craze. But the whole point is to look at your experience and
yeah,
ask you, who am I?
yeah,
What am I doing? And why am I doing it?
yeah. And to your point about, there's a couple of things I want to say about therapy. And one,
Please.
I never, I didn't, I never wanted to be a therapist or counselor. When I went to Bastille, which is where you and I met, I, my intention was to be a summer camp director. That's what I wanted more than anything else, was to be a summer camp director. And at the time, this is kind of late 90s or early 2000s, when I was working at the last summer I worked at the camp, we really saw like this steady influx of young people who are having a variety of mental health issues to the point where we had a psychiatrist coming up on the weekends to do medication management. And I really felt like if I was going to be a good summer camp director, I needed to have a better understanding of mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And and so I decided to go to get a master's degree in applied behavioral science because that seemed like I could use it to be a better camp director. In short, I ended up taking an internship in a psychiatric clinic, and then they offered me a job, and one thing led to another, and here I am 20 some odd years later, and I'm still doing this. Um, but I had those biases going into it about what a therapist is, and a shrink is what I got a
Yeah.
client from New York still calls me shrink, right? Like they gets a kick out of it, which I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, but consistently, there's two things that I hear. One, therapy is about relationship. It's about finding someone who, like you said, mirrors back to you the parts of yourself where you're really strong, where you're really healthy, where you're doing well, and they mirror back to you the parts of you that are struggling, that need attention. Those bits of your child self that are still stuck in some sort of loop and that need some help getting up to date, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's that, and it's crucial. So that relationship is important. And for a lot of people, finding a therapist that works for them, it's really and a tired analogy is that it feels like dating. Like you might have to talk to a few different people until you find someone who you feel like really gets it, really understands you and where you're coming from, and has a perspective to offer you that is different, that is unique,
Mm-hmm.
that makes you feel motivated to engage in a change process. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one, right? And it's not one size fits all. And as many different therapists as there are ways of doing therapy. In the evidence based world, there are some controls that are put into place to make sure that you're getting desired outcomes in the therapeutic process. But at the end of the day, if that person isn't respectful, isn't curious, isn't really in tune with you, the relationship probably is not going to feel sustainable. Like we talk about, you were saying about diet and exercise. The same is true with therapy. You got to feel connected to that person. You feel like they understand you and where you're coming from. And like I said, can offer you a different way of seeing the issues in your life that motivates you to engage in a change process.
Mm-hmm.
And to the critics, the data is pretty clear, right? That people who engage in a beneficial therapeutic relationship, they report decreases in their symptoms around depression and anxiety and the trauma. They report improved emotion regulation and coping skills. They report increased self-esteem, right? And emotional and mental resilience. They report improved communication skills, stronger relational bonds, right? And they will tell you that they have an easier time navigating the challenges that life puts in front of them because they have better problem solving skills. That's a good, strong therapeutic relationship. If you're getting those pieces, right, you're in a good, healthy therapy relationship.
Awesome.
Unfortunately, as many, I think a lot of people have a rough time in therapy because they don't find their person.
Right.
And you got to get out there. You got to try a couple times until you find someone that really works for you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that, man. I love it. And I think I just want, I would like to see people have an intelligent conversation about this because I think it's so important to the process of living a good life. If you can find, it could be a friend, if you can find someone to help facilitate this self exploration, this
Mm-hmm.
digging into oneself. And as we dig into our experience, our awareness of our thinking, the narrative that we hold, I think I associate narrative and identity or the same thing because this is the story that we're telling ourselves. And then we identify with certain aspects of that story and say, this is who I am. And
Mm-hmm.
if we're not exploring and looking at our story and our narrative, how will we know how well we're living?
Mm.
How do you know that
Yeah.
if my life is good? Because there are a lot of folks who think that their life is good because we've been told
Mm.
that the more shit I have, then my life is good. And then you're like, oh, let me go get me a bunch of shit. I'm gonna get I want I'm not even saying it's necessary. Nothing is necessarily wrong with having stuff.
Mm.
I can from an environmental perspective, but I won't go there right now. But that's not necessarily it. So okay, I need to reduce all the stuff I have. Like, no, you're not getting what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Is why are you having all of that stuff? Where did you get that from? And
Mm-hmm.
why do you find value in having all of the stuff? You
Mm-hmm.
might keep the stuff, but you might realize one day, like, the reason that I'm doing it's not giving me what I'm looking for.
Mm-mm.
I don't have the joy. I
Mm.
don't have the sense of peace. My life is not good.
Mm.
And it should be good
Mm.
because I've been told that if I get a whole bunch of stuff, that's just one example. If I get a
Yeah.
whole bunch of stuff, then everything should be good.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's not. I keep
Yeah.
getting more and more and more stuff, and
Yeah.
it's not good.
Yeah.
Well, then you're not doing what
It,
Jason is articulating. You're not doing that, looking inside and connecting with yourself. You're not connected to your own narrative, your own story about the world.
I mean, if you're gonna have stuff, be connected to the stuff. Like, fine.
Right?
Like, if it's something that fulfills you, go for it. Do you whatever pleases you. But this idea of so much of what you said is a result of a culturally or socially imposed narrative, a story that we were told, that we tell ourselves, especially in corporate capitalist America. We were told that the one with the most toys wins,
Yeah.
right? Pick yourself up by the bootstraps and go out there and get it. Like all these stories that and I'm like, man, I've tested them. I've lived in my car for almost 2 years with a bed in the back, and I traveled around and visited with friends. I slept on a lot of couches, slept in a lot of people's houses, and frankly, at the time, I didn't have any stuff. I wasn't happy, right? I just wasn't. I wasn't happy with myself. I wasn't connected to the things I was doing with people around me. I live in a nice house. I have beautiful, comfy stuff. And I'm much happier now than I ever was before. Not because of the stuff, but
Nope.
because I'm just a happier, more content person because my life at this point, and I'm very, very grateful for this. And there's a few experiences that have really put things into context, put things into perspective. And perhaps none more than having kids for me. And I know it's not for everybody. I know that especially the way people feel about the world and where the world is going, and I'm quotey fingers, they choose not to have children makes all the sense to me. For me, the impact of having kids was dramatic in causing me to reflect on myself, to ask why I'm doing what I'm doing, and to then shape my choices in the future. Um, and it wasn't. I think having kids, and to the third thing about purpose, right? And because I don't want the audience to be asking, he never got back to purpose,
Oh, are we going to get there?
right? And for each of us, this sense of purpose doesn't necessarily come from the job you do or from the things you have, right? It comes from a sense that what you are doing in the world has value, has value to yourself, first and foremost, has value to your friends and family, second, has value to the community as a whole. And so many of us, because we're following that prescribed narrative of like, if I get the job and I have the things or experiences, that was another thing I thought about,
Mm-hmm.
is that some of us like, they're like, well, I'm not into stuff, but I have all kinds of experiences. And they throw themselves at this idea that if I do more things, I'll be more happy. And I just, no, I see you shaking your head. No, it's just not. You could do all the things and still be miserable. You
Yeah.
could travel to the far reaches of this planet and still be the most unhappy, travel-y person that ever was, because you don't feel connected, because you don't feel belonging where you are, because you don't feel like what you're doing and why you're doing it has an overall sense of purpose or fulfillment to you, right? To
Mm-hmm.
you, your people, your family, your friends, and your community, and hopefully the world at large. That's
Love
all.
it, brother. I'm loving it. I love it. I love it because and it goes back to this notion of, and I know folks on this who listen to this regularly, you hear me say this quite often.
Mm,
It comes back to looking at ourselves,
mm,
looking deeply at ourselves,
mm,
putting the mirror up and like, who am I? Why am
mm,
I doing these things?
mm,
Where am I situated in the world?
mm,
And that's the only way we'll know what gives us value or not.
mm,
What's valuable to me? What's really important to me? Not this story that I've borrowed from the society that I live in, and I want to be like Brad Pitt or some shit. You know, I want to be like Brad. You know, it's like, no, I can't be
mm,
like that. I don't want to
mm,
be like that. Or I want to be like whoever it may be.
mm,
And it's like, no, how do I be who
mm,
I am?
mm.
But if I ask myself that question, that was going to, I have to do some inner reflection. I have to
Yes,
look at myself. I have to
yes.
see what is actually happening, because I'm glad we brought up all of these different analogies. You can have a bunch of stuff and be miserable and or happy or
Mm-hmm,
content. You can have nothing or
mm,
very little and be miserable or content.
mm-hmm,
It's all contextualized in
mm-hmm,
how you are relating
mm-hmm.
to your experiences and how connected you are with your experiences. Because you're right. You know, there are folks who, what do they call them? Dopamine junkies, I guess you can
Mm,
say, just going out like, okay, I got to go get this experience. They can't rest. I need to go
mm,
do this. Let me go do this
mm,
thing. You know what, man? And then they just can't. They got to keep amping it up because it's
mm,
not giving it to them. Okay,
mm,
I hike my I climbed my Mount Rainier.
mm.
Wow, that was great. It was happy for a moment. The next
What's next?
day, that wasn't it. Okay, let me
Mm,
go to Kilimanjaro.
mm,
They do that one. Damn, that didn't do it. Then they got to go find something crazy. I'm going to South. I'm going
mm,
to the Arctic or something. I don't
mm,
know. I'm gonna do something
mm-hmm,
real crazy. And
mm-hmm.
they do that and survive. And they're like, damn, I'm still not happy. I said that still didn't do it. I'm like, no, you're looking for something
Yes,
outside of yourself
yes.
to satisfy you and to make your life worth it. If you yeah, you we have to be, we're going to be related to things outside of ourselves, that we live in the world. You're
Yeah,
going to be yeah, you're going to be coming into contact with the
yeah.
world outside of your skin. But if you don't bridge the gap some way somehow, if you don't have any connection to it, and the only way you're going to know you have that connection is through looking at yourself, through experiencing and reflecting on experience. And you use the word engage, and I use this word engage a lot, but the word engage is important.
Mm-hmm.
To engage something
Yes,
is to connect with it,
yes,
to link yourself to that,
yes.
even if it's an idea. Like
Yeah,
we're like engaged in this dialogue with each other.
yes,
We engage with this exploration of
yes,
this idea of purpose or
yes.
reflection. You know, to be engaged in something is to like, oh, to be locked in and exploring and playing with it. And if we're not doing that, you know, the cars, or like, you know, as a lot of men, especially when we were younger, like, okay, I just want to have as much sex as I can. Okay, you go do it. After it's done, like, okay, that's done. Like, okay, I want the next, and the
Mm-hmm.
next, and the next, and the next, and you just get crazier and crazier and crazier, and you become Epstein-esque.
Yeah. Well,
And
you're
your
chasing.
your search, just constantly
Yeah,
chasing, and you're
chasing.
never. It's like it's never going to satisfy you
Yeah,
until you do what you're suggesting, I think.
yeah. There's a few things that really pop for me. One is your use of the word content. I think that's a really important distinction for a lot of us because we were part of the narrative was to push for happiness. I want to be happy. I thought for a long time in my life I wanted to be happy, and it's not until recently in these last few years I realized that I wasn't striving for happiness. I was striving for a sense of content, which is
Mm-hmm.
where that sense of belonging and connection and purpose all meet up. Is like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm just content in my life where I am, whatever I'm doing in any moment. Right? Content is just I said to my wife a few years ago, I was like, I'm a happy person. And she scoffed at me. Dr. Nez straight up scoffed at me. She goes, "Ha!" And I was like, "What? Should I be offended right now? Why are you laughing at me?" And she's like, "I don't think of you as a happy person." I was like, What does that mean? What does that even mean?" And she's like, "You just are. You just, no matter where we are, what we're doing, you just kind of the same." Like, and I was like, "Oh, wait, I think I've arrived. I think I've got to the place." And then there was something you said. I want to is a little story. Like, I would say from the time I was about 17 or 18, I started chasing, like even younger. I started chasing experiences, right? And I was ratcheting up those dopamine hits,
Mm-hmm.
ratcheting up the oxytocin release and the
Yeah.
serotonin. I just getting it, like just traveling all over concerts, hundreds and hundreds of concerts and festivals and parties and after hours and before hours, and doing all the things, traveling to all different places. And I remember the exact moment of when I realized I was miserable. And
Mm.
I was in northern India. I was outside of McLeodganj, and which is close to Dharamsala in northern India, where the epicenter for the Dalai Lama and the exiled Tibetan government, kind of all set up there. And I'm in this little, went to a party, and some guy had driven his car from the UK all the way to northern India, and then in northern India they had strapped some speakers and a little sound system, and they hauled it on a donkey up to tree line, and so me and this dude I met go fumbling through the woods. We're just listening for the sound of like bass music. It's off in the distance. And we scrambling up the rocks, and we find this little plateau where they had set up basically a rave. And there's about 50 people at tree line outside, and this music is probably 1 or 2 in the morning, and I'm standing there by myself, and I'm like, this is it. This is the peak experience that I could have imagined at that time in my life. Like, this is everything. I'm probably 25, 26 years old. Just, I'm on the other side of the world. I'm having these, like, every day is a new, amazing experience. And I just stood there and I was like, this is incredible. Look at it. I can see the top, like, the backside of the Himalaya. This is amazing. And I'm fucking miserable. Like, and I just feel so disconnected, not from my environment, but from myself. And that even
Mm.
in that moment, I was like, I do not know what I want, where I belong, who are these people that I'm with, right? And I had been traveling there with 2 friends. I wasn't with my friends. I was with some random people I had met, and I just thought in that moment, like, I remember the tinkle of, like, I have gone as far out, like you said, I've chased the dopamine as far as I could go, and I'm still not happy. I was like, I got to figure this out, right? And I thought, oh, I'm going to be a summer camp director. So that's when I came back and back to the U.S. And I traveled for a few more months around the U.S. I was like living in my car at that time, and found my way up to Seattle where my cousins were living, and I was like, oh, I'll move up to Seattle and go to school there. But it was not, and it wasn't then that the lights went on. It was quite a bit after that, going through school, going through therapy, going through a bunch of different stuff before I started to realize why I wasn't happy. And I think a big part of it was, yes, I was chasing all of these things that I thought I should want, but I wasn't being honest with myself. I wasn't being honest with myself about who I am, where I'm from. I didn't feel connected to my family. I didn't feel connected to my friends. I didn't feel a sense of belonging anywhere. And I certainly did not feel like I had any kind of purpose in the world. I was just indulging my fantasies. And as long as I was doing that, I would just be adrift. I could just float around and just be adrift. No, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying everybody's got to. I mean, we all got to find it for ourselves, and
Yep.
and right where it comes from, I think is unique to each of us and to our experience. But to your audience, to you, to myself, as a reminder, we have to be honest with ourselves, like real
Yep.
hard truth, honest with ourselves about who we are, where we're from, and really, ultimately, my hope is that that's how we find our way to feeling content.
That's it, brother. Oh, I love it. I love the story, and I love how you rounded out right with, hey, that might work for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
it's not the tangibles. It's not the it's the inner experience of what we're engaged in, if we are
Yeah.
engaged, or what we're you would think we're connected to. Where is it? What's actually happening here?
Yeah.
I'm chasing, no matter
Yeah.
where what it is,
Yeah.
and something is not happening here. And I think that's when folks talk about the true happiness is contentment. Is
Yes.
that you can ride the waves and the ups and downs, and you're like, hey, I'm even keel.
Yeah.
I got, and I'm steady.
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever, I'm going with the flow.
Yeah.
It's not that you're not. What's the word? There's a word for this. When you're just kind of like aloof. It's not that you're aloof. You're still connected.
So the
You-
difference between content and complacent,
Yes,
right?
it.
And understanding the difference
Yes, it.
between being complacent, like, oh, whatever, it doesn't matter, you know, I'm just going to go with it, versus like, oh, right now I feel sad. Oh, sad is
Exactly.
interesting. Let me lay into sad for a minute. Oh,
Exactly.
right now I feel like a small, quiet sense of joy. Oh, joy is interesting. I'll feel that right now. Right.
Right.
And like wherever I'm at, like I'm not trying to be something different. I'm not trying to be somewhere else. I'm right here. I'm with it. Oh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
tired. I'm tired, man. Okay, I'm gonna go to bed. You know, like or whatever it
Right.
is. Like just wherever we are, we just be there. Like that to
Yeah.
me is what content feels like. And I don't want to limit my experiences to how I should feel or how I think I should feel or do what I think I should do. I just be present with what is. And that, yeah, that doesn't mean you're like a leaf just blowing in the breeze, letting it all happen, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we have to have some structure. We have to have some focus because the world is the modern world is constantly trying to pull you out of the moment, trying to pull you into some other distracted, weird shit that has just nothing to do with who you are as a person,
Mm-hmm.
and everything to do with keeping your attention distracted. What did I say? I said to a client last week, the world, the corporate corporate capitalist America wants you fat, distracted, and unhappy. Like that.
Yep.
That's what it wants from you, because then you are an easy target. And what it doesn't want is for us to feel content, fulfilled, and strong.
Exactly. Oh, I'm glad you brought that. You opened up the can of worms with that one. We have a little bit of time left, but yeah, that's exactly it. And it's like because it's your easy target.
Hmm.
It's easy to manipulate a population. It's easy to get someone to consume if they're disconnected, if there's
Yes.
dissonance, like you were saying earlier,
Yes.
or a person who lacks purpose. Man, it's like I can toy with you. If I know that you lack purpose, there's dissonance there.
Yes.
Oh man,
Yeah.
and oh, it's easy. It's
Yes.
just easy to manipulate you. I can shine any little flashy object in front of your face, and I can just tweak it just a little bit to get you to do it. You'll consume my product, be
Yeah.
it a tangible product or be it some product, some psychological product, because you have this stuff in the wellness world where people are selling all kinds of weird stuff.
All kinds of
But it's
stuff.
easy. And all kind. I'm like, it's so easy to do it though. There
Yeah.
because the model is how do I encourage people to consume? And
Hmm.
you need a pretty ignorant population to consume as much as we consume. And what I mean by ignorant, I'm not meaning in a derogatory sense, but in a sense of not a lacking awareness. I'm going to say this from a yogic perspective. This lacking awareness of self,
Hmm.
lacking awareness of who we truly are. If I like that awareness of who I really truly am, I'm an easy mark for
Yes.
any hustler.
Yes.
Anybody can hustle me into doing anything. And I'm watching this happen out in the world. I'm like, this is madness.
Yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
why, what is happening here? And years of exploration, I've come to that realization that ignorance, and in the yogic world, ignorance is the foundation of human suffering,
Yes.
unnecessary human suffering, the unnecessary aspects of human suffering. Because we suffer out of a lack of awareness of what's happening in the world, but also a lack of awareness of ourselves.
Yes.
And if we have a deeper awareness of ourselves, even if we're unaware of things outside of us, when we meet that thing in the world, because we have the sensitivity, this awareness of ourselves, we can make a better assessment of how we relate to the world outside of us, outside of our
Yes.
skins.
Yes.
And so,
We
yeah, I
we we
love
are
it.
living in an era of shiny thing, and I think what you said that's really important is that it's in the 80s, growing up in the 80s, it was the material things, right? That
Mm-hmm.
that they were just, keeping up with the Joneses, and the new car and the new pants and the new thing, right? Now it's our attention. It's
Mm-hmm.
right, and I have very intelligent, well-meaning, insightful, healthy people come in and tell me like how they spend their time scrolling on their phones, right? And they just like, and sometimes it's that simple. It's that next thing that's just a moment of your mind to distract you, to distract you, to
Mm-hmm.
distract you. And they say, oh, I need to get informed. I look on Twitter, I look on Instagram because it makes me feel informed. I'm like, no, no, it's distracting you. I promise you, there are other ways to educate yourself. There are other ways to get information, whether it's news or information about the world, that, than going through and scrolling in misery, because those mediums are not designed to educate you. They're
No.
designed to distract you. They're designed to make you feel all the feelings that keep you from yourself, right? They
Mm-hmm.
all these feel like moments of bliss, and then darkness and doom, and then joy, and then, oh, envy, and then all of these things, sloth, like all of the sort of the seven sins, they're all right
Right?
there in front of you in a little scrolly device,
Yep.
right? And the hard thing is for all of us to stop for a minute. Just stop, put it down, and be uncomfortable. There was a great article came out last week. It was all over, a few different spots where I get information, Nice News and 1440, about being bored and how important it is for our minds to be bored. Because and I hate the word bored. It's
I
never,
know.
so
I
I've
know what
never
you mean.
felt that way. But I think what the author maybe intended was to be still,
Mm-hmm.
and let your mind just wander, whether it's in meditation or just staring at the wall for a few minutes. Like I was in a doctor's office a few weeks ago, and I found myself just reach right into my pocket, pull my phone out, and I was like, what am I doing? And put my
I
phone
know.
away. And I just sat there. And for like an hour waiting for this doctor, I just sat there and I was like, I'm just going to breathe. I'm just gonna look. What do I observe in this room? And it's a little bit torturous because my brain just wants entertainment. But the best thing we can do for ourselves is find reasons, find opportunities for stillness. Because in that stillness, we have moments of reflection and creativity. And that's where those real truths start to peek their head up, of how
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable you are, and finding what you really need in the world to give you a sense of belonging, to give you a sense of connection, to make you feel purpose. And if
Yeah.
you're listening to that still voice and you're paying attention to your intuition, those three centers of thinking, right? Your heart, your mind, and your gut, right? And you can't listen to those things if you've got a bunch of noise in there all the time, distracting your emotions and your thoughts. So if we can find opportunities in our lives for stillness, then we reflect and we find, oh man, I got to do something to make myself feel content, because I am not. I just feel disconnected.
Mm-hmm. And in that disconnection, someone's gonna sell me something,
Yep.
and I'm
Yep.
gonna go buy it, and
Yeah.
then I'm gonna be even more distracted, and I'm gonna go buy
Yeah.
more things.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what you were saying earlier
Yeah.
about, and I'm on this hamster wheel of
Yeah.
unhappiness
Yeah.
because I'm just constantly seeking pleasure,
Yeah.
or an aspect, a version of happiness. I think the contentment is where the true happiness is,
Yeah.
but I'm constantly looking for this thing, and I'll never get it because I lack the capacity
Yeah.
to connect. I lack the capacity to feel belonging. I lack the capacity to understand and to know what my purpose is. And when I say purpose, there might be an overarching purpose, but
Yeah.
there's various purposes within that
Yeah.
overarching purpose.
Yeah.
And if I don't have that sensitivity that you've been um, encouraging us to have, then I'm not going to have those things.
Right.
And if I don't have that, I'm definitely not going to have balance. Where's the balance?
No.
I think that the imbalance is going to be there because I'm constantly chasing
Yeah.
whatever it may be. And I'm just going to say this: it can be I'm doing yoga teacher trainings all over the place. I'm doing meditation retreats
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Even in the wellness contemplative world, you can have the same thing. Oh, I
Yeah.
have this training from Spirit Rock. I have this training from such and such. I have this
Yeah.
training from this. So now I can go and create a brand and show all of the different trainings that I have. And then I'm going to do these retreats when I need to value myself. And I have so much value. So I'm going to charge $3,000 because that's what I heard on Joe Rogan and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, wow, dude, even in a contemplative where you have the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
mentality. So I don't want folks, I don't want you to think we're just picking on like Toys R Us. Do they
No.
still exist?
No.
or whoever, Walmart or whoever. I'm like,
No,
no,
no.
we're not
I
just picking
and
on
I
them.
think to your point, I want to be like totally. I would love to tell any person that's listening. I have all kinds of little indulgences. I love games. I love video games. I have since I
Mm-hmm.
was a little kid. I love music. I love throwing myself into music and distracting myself with the soothing sounds. Mostly reggae music, just because that's like a thing.
Right?
That's a
I
thing,
feel you. It's a
but
thing.
it's just mostly that. There's other music too, but I have all kinds of ways, right? Like that I distract myself, and I have ways that I find center. I'm talking about balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in every aspect of our lives, we need to have balance. What was it?
Mm-hmm.
Moderation in everything, like especially in moderation. Like you
Right,
just
there it
need
is.
just moderate, right? And it doesn't matter if you are chasing an experience or you're chasing a material possession or you're chasing an idea. And this is something that is really like is brutal for me is how many of us all day, every day are just chasing the emotions that are connected to these ideas that are being
Mm-hmm.
thrown at us, whether we're listening to two random guys on a podcast or you're watching TV or you're on your Instaham phone, like whatever you're doing, you're chasing these ideas. And what that process does is it disconnects or distracts you from yourself. And so I encourage people, find a therapist. Find someone to talk to, a friend, a teacher, a spiritual guide who you trust, someone you trust
Trust.
to reflect. Bust out a journal. Do some
Mm-hmm.
journaling.
Mm-hmm.
Meditate. Do find some balance in your life so that you feel connected to who you are as a
Mm-hmm.
person, where you're
Mm-hmm.
from, and hopefully it gives you a sense of where you're going.
Yeah, I know we're about to close here, but I want to say I love that, brother. All
Mm,
beautiful, and I want to challenge you on this idea of distraction
mm,
because it's nothing wrong with indulging in music. Music is one of those things that we can do to inner flow states.
mm-hmm,
We can really be connected to the music, and that's why you and I know like reggae is a thing, and people who know
mm-hmm,
like we talking about roots reggae.
mm-hmm,
It's a thing, and you
mm-hmm,
can get into flow. You
mm-hmm,
can get into
mm,
flow,
mm,
and like why? What is it doing? It's just putting me in that state where I can just be present with myself and locked in and tune in with the music. That's great.
mm-hmm,
Or video games. There's
mm,
nothing wrong with video games in
mm,
and of itself.
mm,
It's just that when the video games become a distraction, or you're like,
mm,
I'm really enjoying myself playing this video game right now, that's
mm-hmm,
fine. But if you're like,
mm-hmm,
I'm neglecting my family, my
mm,
children, my
mm,
clients because all I want to do is play video games, that's a distraction. Something
mm-hmm.
something going wrong there. Or
Very
whatever it
fair.
may be, like you go out to I know you still play tennis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you go play tennis, it's not a distraction.
Yeah,
You like,
yeah.
I'm enjoying it. So you still play with your brother?
My cousin, yeah,
Your
and
cousin,
my
your
brother,
cousin, so
yeah,
yeah, your
both.
cousin. And it's like, I'm with my family, I'm playing
Yeah,
tennis. This is
yeah.
great. I know I got work to do. I know there's other stuff. But you know what? I'm just gonna enjoy this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just that's to me, those are facets of the good life that is important.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know we talked about all this stuff about purpose and connection and all these big ideas and self-reflection, but the experience itself, having experiences where we can ride the wave of dopamine and serotonin and
Mm-hmm.
oxytocin, that's great. And all those things are the feel good stuff, the feel good
Mm-hmm.
molecules.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we have these feel good molecules. That's part of the good life. We're
Mm.
definitely not saying like just walk around and bored.
Chewing celery and staring at the wall.
Staring at the wall. Like, no, dude, I'm gonna have
Live
fun
a
too.
good life. Live a
Life.
fulfilling life.
And that means
Yes.
having fun.
Yes.
And then I know we're at the end, but I want to say this because and I brought this idea of you playing tennis with your family members, and you said in the beginning of how you identify yourself as a community person, as a person connected to your family. And I love that. There's a part of me that envy what you have.
Mm,
Your family all close to you. You're connected with them. You're engaged with them like that. That is a beautiful thing that a lot of us, at least in this country, do not have. Now they don't have to be blood family members. They could be people that you feel like they're a family and you're connected with. But for a lot of us, we hop around, we move around so much. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. Humans have always done that. But there's something about being in connection with people for an extended period of time, a long period of time that you're constantly engaged and interacting with in some capacity. I think that's a beautiful, important piece of the equation. And that's why I love when you brought in connection there and belonging, because, and purpose too, when you live in community, particularly with family, it's a space for everything. It's a crucible
yeah.
for it all.
This
Challenges
is
everything. It's one of the
that
most beautiful.
that's the piece, right? Because it's all of it, right?
It's all of it.
There's no faster way to check your bloated ego than to go spend time with your family, right?
Hmm.
Like for me, I just remember, like, if any of them ever listen to this, they'll be like, "What? He's never around," or whatever. They might have some other story about me, but
Hmm.
like, to your point, it that sense of belonging is not always good or
Hmm.
bad. It
Yep.
just is, and it's
Is.
everything, and it reminds us who we are and where we came from. And that,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, and it can be messy. Life is
it can
messy,
be.
and
Yes,
that's okay.
I'm
And
just here for it.
and
Whatever it
con-
is, I'm here for
contentment. Yeah, we're here for it, and that contentment, brother. This has been lovely. I know you have to get off and go to another going to see a client, and
it. Yep.
I appreciate you, man. And any final words before we sign off?
Um, oh man, that snuck up on me. No, no, I just wish everyone, like, I wish for everyone to feel, to find their peace, right? And to find that sense of of re- of relationships that are fulfilling to you, and to try. Change is best imparted in small amounts. Is to try and do all of those things that you know you need to do to live the good life, to live a better life, right? Put the phone down, maybe don't eat the extra dessert, don't smoke all that or drink all that. Like, just I, just try small things to make your life better every day, and a couple of years from now you're going to be in a whole different place.
Beautiful, man. Thank you
Yeah,
so much. This has been lovely. I love you, brother. I
I
miss
love
you,
you too, man.
man. And until next time.
I'll see you soon, my bro.
Thank you so much for tuning into the show. I hope this conversation has inspired you to reflect on your own views of the good life. If you enjoyed the show and want to hear more inspiring and thought provoking conversations, please follow, write a review, and rate us on your favorite podcast app. If you are tuning in on YouTube, please hit that like button and subscribe. Your support is very much appreciated.